today, and here we go.
Here we go. Oh yeah, sorry. I think I was saying even Paladin instead of even Shaman. The wrong one, the wrong even deck.
They're the same thing.
Completely untrue, contrary to what I've just been saying myself. But I imagine here for Xiao, these are some pretty decent cards he's looking at. Corpse Taker obviously can get you off to a lightning fast start, especially if you can hit some of the buff cards like... he will definitely be looking for +2/+2, a flame... Oh no, sorry, not Flame Tongue Totem anymore. I'm getting used to the post-nerf even Shaman. The damage potential is significantly limited now, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a big nerf that Gia was talking about a lot yesterday. She was saying that she's really not a big fan of this deck anymore because Flame Tongue Totem was so strong. But, you know, Direwolf Alpha is still good, and the deck still does have a lot of aggression.
Yeah, and it's more just about getting the highest stats on board as possible, I believe, because Flame Tongue Totem was mostly used to turn your rubbish little minions into trading sticks, I found a lot of the time, rather than delivering loads of damage through to face, although that was a nice side effect of it. Against Quest Rogue, they don't really play that much stuff for you to trade into. You don't really need to fight for board most of the time. So you can quite happily just throw down your minions.
As for Dawn's Hand, though, it's really not doing much, is it?
Yeah, it's not doing much of anything. These cards actually help quite a lot. Just having a minion that he can start completing the quest with in the form of South Sea Deckhand, even though it's really not perfect. If he can find himself Vanish, or obviously Mimic Pod would be very nice as well. He's got something going on here at least.
Just any value generation is what he needs now. The Mimic Pod, the Elven Minstrel, something like that. Even a second Panda could be reasonable. If he can pick up a Shadow Step or something as well, he could just go Panda, Panda, Shadow Step, and then Panda, Panda after that.
Yeah. Did he pick up the Deckhand on turn 1 as well?
I think so,
yeah, he could have played that just to try and fight for board a little bit, because that's really what he's just got to do as much as possible. The punish, I guess, would be Mercspark Eel, which would be pretty bad, actually.
Yeah, this fought for the board well enough.
This works out fine, yeah.
Kept Jouty off of it. And there's the Knife Juggler I was talking about before. And already we can see how this thing is looking like slowly but surely it's going to accumulate some damage.
Yeah, it will indeed. The this list of the Even Shaman, for Lucky Future. Yeah, okay, so it's got some pretty good offensive potential. So if it can stick this Corpse Taker, it could be a very threatening minion indeed for Jouty, and getting it down before the Ziliax can trade into it, I think is the really salient factor here, just because otherwise that's dealt with. He would then also have to find an answer for the remainder of Ziliax. And I think that's just asking more than the Even Shaman can deliver.
Yeah, Dawn has no way to stop this 6 damage coming in next turn, so if Jouty can pick up a Elven Might
that's
over the next few turns, this is going to be insane.
However, Dawn is still at 30 HP. He's got himself the Novice Engineer now to actually start getting through the quest. Prep Fan is a lovely way to get a bit of tempo back onto the board when it's needed. I don't think Dawn's in that bad of a spot.
No, I agree. The hand is finally coming together nicely. It wasn't a horrible hand to begin with. It just looked dry because there was no resource generation there. But as you said, the Novice Engineer and the Fan of Knives can now do some serious work.
I mean, to begin with, it did look like a horrible hand. It was quest, prep. That was literally his entire hand. But yeah, it's filled out nicely.
Something else I don't believe we've mentioned yet is that there is a Nerubian Unraveler present in Lucky Future's Even Shaman, which can cause a little bit of havoc for the rogue if they want to play Preparations, Fan of Knives, Vanish, or the quest itself.
Yeah, I haven't thought about Nerubian Unraveler so much in a tournament setting, but on ladder at the moment, I've just really liked Nerubian Unraveler. With the amount of priests knocking about, I think it's a really nice way to just hold back their removal, and a lot of what they're doing, like they can't play a lot of the cheap spells in the same turn to combo you down.
I've got to tell you, Derek, in the 9 sets that I cast yesterday, I did see a lot of Nerubian Unraveler yesterday. I think we're going to see a lot more of it in the immediate future.
I would be unsurprised. One of the first real decisions here for Dawn, quite interestingly, going for Ziliax over Deckhand plus Minstrel. Both would have completely cleared the board. I wonder if he's just wanting to save the cheap charges for post-quest, just wanting to get Ziliax down as well as a nice minion to have on the board. It does mean his options are more limited on this turn, though.
I mean, I don't know. I think Dawn has a pretty great turn coming up. If he
Fair
does
enough.
go for this Minstrel as well, this is so many resources he gets to draw here. He doesn't even care about the fact he's thrown away this Engineer. It's only 2 procs on the quest, right? Like, it's not the be-all and end-all.
Yeah. Yeah, this is starting to look very juicy for Dawn. However, things are also starting to look up a little bit for Xiao Ti because he's transitioning from the early game of Even Shaman through to the later stages of the game where the real powerhouses start to come down, where the real burst damage starts to come down. So if Dawn doesn't get a real lock on this board very soon, maybe we see the Alakir into Earthen Might for 10 burst damage, or just Fire Elementals flinging face. There's a lot of burst damage that can come through if you're not careful.
Yeah, Dawn doesn't really have a way of preventing it either. Like Glacial Shard, that prevents a minion that's already on the board from dealing damage. But as you were saying, there are so many tools Xiao Ti has that he just doesn't even need minions on the board already. 2 charge minions, this Fire Elemental just to deal with the minion. Wow, he doesn't want to let Dawn bounce that Novice Engineer again.
Yeah, I mean, Dawn's play clearly suggested that he had another one in hand, or that he just prayed he would find it with the deck, with the Minstrel. Sorry, he has not found that Novice Engineer, which means he has to go for quest completion in another route, which is not the end of the world. He's got Prep and Vanish, which means, I mean, what, in the next couple of turns, double Wax Elemental, Prep, Vanish, double Wax Elemental. He's only one away from completing the quest at that point. Oh wait, sorry, he's got 3 in
triple,
there.
yeah, triple.
Yeah,
Wax
sorry,
Elemental.
he's blanked on that one. He's already got quest completion available in hand.
Yeah, it's great. He can just throw this one down as a defensive tool and then use the other 2 to complete the quest later with the Vanish, as you were saying. And that Wax Elemental is kind of annoying for Xiao Ti. Like, he could Spellbreaker it, I guess, but then he's still got to deal with the frog and would have to put the Fire Elemental into it. So Spellbreaker doesn't help him all that much. He doesn't want to just go and make a big board because then he's getting weaker and weaker to Vanish. It's tough.
Yeah. Man, you're starting to see why Cloud9 wanted to bring the Elemental Shaman rather than the Even Shaman. This deck just looks incredibly weak right now. It hasn't done anything all game against a Quest Rogue, which really doesn't fight back that much.
That turn 3 deckhand trading to the Ooze just shut down Xiao Ti.
That was brutal.
Alright, he's
Here
going to
we
go
go.
with the big board.
Finally, the big push onto the board saying, you know what, if you don't have a Vanish, you are in serious trouble. And even if he does, maybe he can get, another cheap Sea Giant down just to keep the pressure rolling. But we can clearly see Dawn's got close to quest completion on this turn. And he does have the all-important Vanish.
The double Glacial Shard will be helpful for Dawn in the future as well. If he even needs them at this point, he's going to have a very strong board of 4/4 Divine Shield Taunts very soon.
He will indeed. And I really like the use of Prep here, in addition to the Vanish, because you could have just saved it to go for the quest next turn. But I think the very specific fact that it allows him to load up the board on this turn is so important, because it means the minions he has in play will be able to attack next turn. Xiao Ti has to throw in a board into this nonsense, knowing that it will just die.
And what does he do with this hand in this position? 3 Divine Shields in the way. The only way he can even hit twice is with Alakir. It just sucks.
Yeah, there's just nothing here, right? Like, silence to remove a Divine Shield from a minion that's going to hit you for 4 next turn. Could he try and sell for a God Draw of Kalamos? Even then, that only does 3 damage to everything. Yeah, I think he pretty much knows that this is wrapping up. Dawn would have to have absolutely no draw and no good cards in hand to have any chance at all. But we can clearly see that is most assuredly not the case.
Goes for the pop on 2 Divine Shield rather than the kill on one of them. But yeah, here we go. 2 boars, 1 deckhand present in the hand for a lot of charge damage.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at this point for Dawn, it's pretty much just mopping up, I think.
Yeah.
If he didn't have the Elven Minstrel, then maybe Xiaoti could look to outvalue him in the short term. At least to maybe try and dry up his board and put on some pressure of his own. But with the Minstrel, he will be finding his good cards, like Sonya, like another Novice Engineer. It's just completely wrapping up. But this is the problem you run into, bringing a deck that has just recently been nerfed. You have to realize that a lot of the matchups are going to have been weakened. Xiaoti realizes this is one of them, throws it down. Dawn ecstatic at his first victory, bringing up 1 game to 0, and will be queuing up that Quest Rogue yet again.
Yep, and that's not the end of the world for the other team, because Quest Rogue should be one of the decks in theory that it's possible to counter queue nicely and find a favourable matchup against. But then again, if even Shaman couldn't do it, I'm not sure exactly what Lucky Future have left that will take down the Quest Rogue.
Yeah, I think the will the aggro mage be their best possibility? Because this is a pretty interesting deck they've got here. With it's not the odd aggro mage. This is just pure tempo aggro mage. It looks like. Old school. Yeah, well, old school, but with no 1-drops. This is a deck with no 1-drops at all. Just relies on building a strong board, I think, on turns 3 or 4 through the use of Kirin Tor Mage and Cosmic Anomaly. And then all their crazy buffed up cheap spells to push ridiculous amounts of damage.
I do really like Spellzerker in these decks now. It's something that I've been playing with a little bit myself. It's almost like running 2 extra copies of Cosmic Anomaly, because it is just 4 mana, all of your spells have spell damage +2 this turn, in the same way that Cosmic Anomaly is. And yeah, it doesn't have as much of a threatening board presence as Cosmic Anomaly, but it doesn't necessarily need to.
Yeah, that's not the important thing with Cosmic Anomaly. I mean, obviously the fact that it is just a decently statted minion you can throw down makes it playable. But the Spellzerker has different upside. You can just play it on 2. It's just a decent 2-drop early on in the game. It's a very versatile minion, which is important in this deck, which has to function in a versatile manner, because it does not curve very well at all. It's not like the old Temper Mage, where you go Mana Worm, Arcanologist, Kirin Tor Mage, and you've won the game. You have to build up situations where your spells get more value than they're supposed to, and swing the board back in your favor, which is difficult to do. I don't think it's an easy deck to play whatsoever.
But if we do think back to old school Temper Mage versus Quest Rogue, I believe that used to be one of the worst possible matchups for the Quest.
It was, yeah, that was the absolute unwinnable.
Yeah. So, you're right. I believe that is the obvious-ish pick for Lucky Future. The only thing that they have to consider is then, if they win this with the Mage, will they then be able to win a second game after that? Because they're behind. They need to win 2 games in a row at some point to win this series.
Yeah, they do. So maybe they go for one of their sweeper decks instead, but against Quest Rogue, like, what would they even be hoping to do? I think their Warlock got taken out, so Druid? That doesn't feel particularly good.
No.
Their Hunter isn't a mid-range aggressive Hunter. It's Death Rattle Hunter, which is pretty miserable against Quest Rogue, and nothing that has been nerfed for Quest Rogue really changes that. It's still the Vanish, which really shuts you down, which is why we have Yashar here on that Mage, trying to just aggro this Quest Rogue down.
Yep. No choice, I guess, is the conclusion that they and we had come to. They're going to have to try and win 2 games in a row with this deck, or with their final deck a little bit later on if they fail to do that. But this should be a straightforward game. What do you think the Rogue can do to even the playing field here?
Well, first of all, it needs to do what Quest Rogue does in any aggro matchup, which is just lock down the board. If they're taking too much damage from a curve from their opponent, there is absolutely no chance at all. But then after that, it's really just trying to find those lifesteal minions after they've completed the quest, because they can heal up tremendously quick. So really, it's just survival. All the good stuff will happen eventually. They just need to try and get to the point where they can start playing those buffed up lifesteal minions.
I was gonna say I was a little surprised to see Dawn throw away the Salty Deckhand there, given how early the how important the early board control is. But I guess Deckhand only deals 2 damage, and most of Shah's minions have 3 health.
Yeah, I think it's rather look for the kind of the quote unquote high roll cards. Like Deckhand is decent early on, but it's not the dream. You'd rather find like, I don't know, Prep Vanish or Sonya ideally as well, just to get the real dream hand rolling.
Yeah. The only way Dawn wins this is if he gets himself into a position where he has somehow completed the quest and can use a bunch of vicious scale hides to heal for 4 over and over again.
Interesting play here for Dawn, to be sure, saying, I'm kind of throwing out my Glacial Shard to die here, but it's the classic use of 1 health minions against a Druid, a Rogue, or Mage, where even if they want to use their hero power to remove it, that's going to massively limit their tempo, especially when you know they don't run any 1-drops, which means if he had pinged it there, Yashar would have just pretty much thrown away the entire turn. So this is a pretty heads-up play from Dawn.
It's really clever, I like it. And now, thanks to the pickup of the second Glacial Shard, Dawn's like, alright, now I'm going to make sure that she cannot deal with the shards.
It's pretty clever. Well, especially when I was looking at most heavily just Brewmaster on that turn, which would have been fine, I think, to trade into the Arcanologist. But getting the bounce as well is kind of a 2-for-1, really pushed his advantage here.
Oh boy.
Ooh. However, a Luna is another minion that has to be removed as quickly as possible, and this has not been done. Nor will it be done, it looks like, anytime soon.
Now Dawn wants that dream draw of the Vanish, with the double shard, with the prep. With that combination, maybe he can complete the quest in time before he's dead.
Ooh.
Minstrel's okay.
Not a bad draw at all.
It's still very slow, though.
And it's a lot of damage that Dawn is going to be taking. There's like enough just burst damage in this deck, with the Cinder Storms, the Arcane Missiles thrown in there as well, to just kill the rogue outright if it doesn't play any minions on board to distract the missiles from the face.
Minstrel drawing Minstrel again is just, it's just quite slow.
Yeah, it's very slow indeed. He pretty much needs to find the Vanish in a quick fashion, or get that quest completed even faster so that he can charge a 4/4 into that Luna to kill it off, because now with the Cosmic Anomaly being picked up as well, all of these spells are going to be doing crazy damage.
Yeah, this is getting out of control. Okay, Shah's gonna go for the Arcane Intellect, it looks like, to then maybe draw a cheaper spell, which she can then play to set Lyra off even more. Sorry, Luna off even more. Gets rewarded with the Shard. She's not gonna go for it?
Yeah, Vaporize really isn't what she was looking for there. This turn was
she got a little bit punished there by playing that secret before she played the shard. She should have gone with the draw first. She'd have gotten the Kirin Tor Mage, which she then could have played with the secret for free.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like, I can totally respect. I mean, I can understand her reasoning for not playing the Cosmic Anomaly, of course, because while you have minions on the board, you don't want to play more into Vanish. You just want to push all the damage to face while you have that advantage, while you can. But after that, if it had stuck on the board, then that would be such a huge amount of damage next turn. She pretty much would have guaranteed the win.
I think the reason she snap played the Explosive Rune earlier was to try and prevent the quest completion with the shard, but unfortunately, as she now knows, didn't quite work, because there's still another shard there.
But now only one more bounce effect being needed for Dawn, and he would be in an unbelievably good spot. If he picks up Shadow Step on the next turn, that's pretty much just game, I think, right there. But now Yashar is most definitely turning up the heat, pretty much getting lethal in the next couple of turns, unless a miracle can come down from Dawn. And that is not the much needed bounce effect. It's still not there.
So Ziliax has to be tempting here, just to get rid of that Cosmic Anomaly and heal Dawn back up to 17. I mean, he can trade the Minstrel into the Anomaly, sure, but he doesn't get the heal. There's actually a lot of options available to him, but as far as he knows, he dies regardless.
Will he be? Oh no, yeah, I was going to say, will he be a splitting image? But I think he attacked in on the last turn as well. So he could have narrowed that down, I think, to Ice Barrier or Vaporize. Or a spell one, sorry. It could still be Counterspell or Spellbender.
Yeah.
Yeah, going with the early Ziliax, a little bit sad. Because you really want to get that after the quest, of course. But with the Vicious Scale Hide in hand, it's far from the end of the world and gets him some much needed healing up against Yashar's onslaught.
Yeah, finally dealing with that Luna that had been on the board since turn 3 as well. But yep, second Cosmic Anomaly comes down. Shah has both Fireballs ready to play next turn. Just for lethal at the moment.
Pretty much, just straight up lethal available. And again, knocking on Dawn's door is Yashar here saying you have to have an answer right now or this is game.
It's a great card, but...
He needs one bounce effect. One.
Okay, so the prep worked, so she knows it's not a counter. Sorry, he knows it's not a counterspell now.
Yeah.
He can play both Scale Hides and put them into. Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Okay,
Yeah,
so Scale Hide goes into the anomaly, and then he freezes the.
Oh, no, I think he's got to hold that Glacial Shard back. Like if he throws that away, that's just game.
So one off lethal, is that right?
One damage off lethal. How do we always get into this spot? It's always the way.
And now with 3 secrets on the board, things are just getting more and more difficult for Dawn. Even if he can complete the quest this turn, Counterspell would prevent it.
Yeah, if he was to play the Wax Elemental, that would be 4 damage to face, I believe. And then it's just too much. Like the Glacial Shard, he can't get enough healing on this turn. I think that's just lights out. Just not enough mana.
Yep, he can't get up to 13, it's not possible.
And this is pretty much what we were expecting from Yashar. This is what happens a lot in Last Hero Standing. During a polarized deck, it will get countered in a very strong fashion. As I imagine we'll see next game from Cloud9. They can bring any strong control deck, strong healing deck, even an early board-based aggro deck would probably shut down this mage in a strong fashion.
This was a nice game though. Dawn definitely fought back. It was looking like it could be somewhat close at some points, but the power of that Luna and those secrets really helped Shah just shut Dawn down.
Yeah. Dawn knows what's up. Very strong play, I think, from Yashar there. The only real important decision, I think, for Yashar there was pretty early on with the decision of whether to develop the Cosmic Anomaly a turn earlier or draw with the Arcane Intellect. I'm still not convinced that the Arcane Intellect was the right way to go, just because it was so low tempo when she had a Luna on the board. Like, playing the Cosmic Anomaly also just draws a card itself. So it was an interesting decision there, but I guess just pushing for more burn cards, pushing the damage through to face. Maybe she's figured out that's just the way to go in the matchup.
So Cloud9's remaining decks are Hakar Druid, Hakar Paladin. I just have to call it that. I'm sorry. Quest Mage, and the Dead Man's Hand Warrior.
Okay.
All four of those decks are pretty out there.
Yeah,
except for Hakar Druid, I guess.
Well, even the Hakar Druid is. Oh no, wait. Yeah, they've got the more standard one at the moment with the Auctioneers. It's
yes.
Lucky Future have got the other version of Togwaggle. But I would imagine that the Dead Man's Hand Warrior is probably pretty good against this aggro mage. It's obviously never losing in fatigue, and it's got a very decent amount of armor gain in the form of Dry Whisker Armor, to a huge amount of armor gain. Even just Dr. Boom itself for the extra 7, the weapons projects, the shield block. There's a lot of healing to be gained there.
Cloud9, having won the first game of the series, are in a position where they can afford to just play the counter pick game. They can do this for the rest of the series and still win. If they can... What I'm saying is, if they think the warrior is best suited to beat the mage, they can focus on that matchup and then just willingly lose the following game and then just queue up one last counter pick to beat that final deck.
Yeah, I mean, this is the criticism, I suppose, of Last Hero Standing a lot of the time, is that it does just go counter, 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 counter. The upside of it being that you do have more strategy in your queue order, and if you do mess up, you won't get that counter potential. But as for the next matchup, like I said, very much expecting the Dead Man's Hand Warrior to be the bring. But outside of that, I suppose the Druid could as well have a very impressive amount of armor gain to shut down that mage. It's more just the removal early on that I think the Druid will be struggling with. The Warrior has so much early removal, especially because it's not even Odd Warrior. It's just Dead Man's Hand, so all of a sudden it has Weapons Project, which is very strong, Cornered Sentry, Battle Rage to refill the hand, Warpath, a lot of powerful tools.
How much armor gain does the Hakar Druid have? Let's take a look. Double Barkskin, double Earthen Scales,
too much
double
is the
Branching
answer.
Path, double Ferocious Howl.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a lot of armor.
Yeah.
And the removal's good too. I mean, Wrath does deal with Cosmic Anomalies nicely. Spellstones, obviously, does a pretty good job as well.
Yeah, I imagine both of those decks would have a pretty easy time against the old aggro mage. I think the Hakar Paladin is probably the control deck that would struggle the most, just because its removal now is obviously a lot weaker, with only one 4-mana equality in the deck, and a 5-mana Shrink Wave to actually deal with those large boards.
I'd still quite like to see the Hakar Paladin, if I'm being honest with you.
Oh, 100% I would like to see it. And oh my god, he is bringing the Hakar Paladin.
Okay, well, let's take a proper look at this deck now. And there's some health gain, but not all that much.
Yeah, I think the health gain isn't really going to be the biggest concern. Because once you hit Uther, that's not really your biggest concern anymore. It's more the removal. I think the ability for the mage to stick a big board, stick a Cosmic Anomaly, a Spell Zerker, will be very high. And once they stick just one of those minions, Tempo Mage is one of the, still, in my opinion, one of the best decks at punishing you for not removing a board.
It looks like we are getting ready to get underway now. Flurry taking on the the Paladin. I wonder how much of this deck he's played. I mean, you said as well you'd never seen this before, right?
I've never seen this before, no.
It must be very difficult to playtest decks like this. In any tournament where you have to bring 9 decks, you have to do so much prep to have any handle on the meta whatsoever.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially as at the moment, the meta is weird. Like, there haven't been that many tournaments recently. There have been big nerfs recently, obviously, as well. So the established tournament meta is pretty lackluster, actually, at the moment. A lot of players have been saying it's really difficult to predict what they can't really find. As I think it's probably worth at this point to, proverbially speaking, part the kimono on this production, as I think we might have fallen a little bit out of sync in terms of the clean feeds. For me, it's turn 3.
Oh,
at the
really? Okay.
Yes, I can pause a bit, or you could refresh your stream.
Probably best that you pause for a few seconds.
Cool.
Luxem has just started turn 2. He's played the minion, whose name I can't remember, and the Korean isn't helping.
Could that be Immortal Prelate, perhaps?
Is that what it's called?
It is indeed.
Arcanologist played on the second side, counterspell drawn. Sorry, Twitch chat. I'm just giving a radio broadcast so that Derek knows where we are.
Yeah, sorry. It's homemade production. We're doing the best we can.
Now it's turn 3.
Okay.
But the true silver was just drawn.
Let me know when turn 4 starts, because that's where I am now, for the mage.
Okay. Yeah, look, Sam does have the ability to coin out the true silver champion now if he wants to just aggressively fight for this board. He may consider saving those for cosmic anomalies, I guess, but there's definitely got to be merit to aggressively fighting for the board now and keeping Shah off of it. You already know what happens here. Spoilers.
Oh, I have complete power right now. Wow, how did I get so far ahead in clean feeds?
Really weird.
Very odd. The wonders of technology and the terribleness of YouTube.
It's going to be Krista Smith Kangor, okay. Alright, it's turn 4. Fireball drawn.
There we go, okay. So again here for Yashar, as I apologize, I missed the first couple turns as my feed skipped forward, but she seems to be doing pretty much what you are, I guess, quote unquote, supposed to do in this matchup of just sticking an early board. Now it's about fighting for board control, which at the moment is obviously very easy. These are understated minions that Luxem is playing. However, that is going to get significantly more difficult once Luxem starts getting those the call to arms running, the Spike Ridge Steed running. Mage is really going to struggle getting through that Spike Ridge Steed.
Let's be real. Does she have any idea what she's supposed to do in this matchup? Do any of us?
I would have no idea. I mean, it's Control Paladin, right? You just do what you did against Control Paladin throughout time.
That's true. Win conditions being, as we've been saying, Hakar. I guess the Immortal Prelate is sort of a win condition.
Yeah.
It keeps any buffs. And it runs Lanessa, and it runs Uther, and it runs Shivala. So there are a bunch of win conditions in there.
Right, exactly. Against this mage, Hakar is not the win condition. The win condition is just get bored, heal out of range of their burst damage, and then win that way.
I don't know, Derek. If the mage plays a Luneth, then Hakar could do some pretty good work.
Why not? Nice little bait there from Yashar into getting rid of the coin, which is actually really bad for Luxem now, because if Yashar is to play a follow-up secret, he will pretty much know that that is a counterspell, but what can he do about that? It shuts down Spike Ridge Steed on turn 6.
Sam's looking very quizzically at his hand there before just passing the rest of the turn. What was he thinking? I don't think there was anything else he could do.
Yashar again, prioritizing drawing cards over the board development, which is an interesting way to go about this matchup. I guess she's coming close to the conclusion. The board control is slipping away from her. Her board doesn't play that many well-statted minions. She kind of has to start looking for burst for a Luneth.
Okay. So, what is the plan now for the Cosmic Anomalies? Because she's, I guess, failed at board control. Is it just play them at the best possible turn to deal the damage immediately?
I think actually at this point, like I said right at the start, when we first saw this deck, it's about realizing when you have to go for like cute plays and weird little tricks to swing the board back in your favor. A 4-mana 4/3 at the moment is not winning back the board. She needs to do it in combination with Cinderstorm, Arcane Missiles, Shooting Star in particular works beautifully. with the Cosmic Anomaly, which is
Right.
why I think she's drawing first, letting herself lose a bit of board control. This is fine right now. I'll get it back after. And then later, she will be dominating the board through the use of Cinderstorm, Arcane Missiles, and the Shooting Star as well.
Sam managing to pop both of those secrets, though, knows that he is now safe next turn, if this board survives, to play one of those Spike Ridge Steeds. Otherwise, Prince Liam is probably just fine. He doesn't need to save it for the Hakar win condition in this matchup.
Yeah, for sure. You're just going to throw it down as... Man, Sam's hand is starting to look very juicy indeed. Any secret played for Yashar here off of the counterspell, off of the glyph might spook Sam into not going for the Spike Ridge Steed quite yet, because he would be afraid of the counterspell, or even more devastatingly, the Spellbender. So I think pretty much any secret that could be found here for Yashar would be good, just for the fear that it would put into Luxam's heart. That is not that, but...
And again, we see the advantage of the Spell Zerka over Cosmic Anomaly here. It was cheaper, so it could fit into this turn. It does have a reasonable body, you know, 2 mana 2/3 is fine status-wise. And it is likely to survive this turn.
Yep. However, for Yashar, the card draw has dried up. There's nothing that really combos all too well with the Cosmic Anomalies, because, I mean, what, Fireball and Frostbolt, even if you get +4 spell damage on both of these, that's nowhere near lethal right now. She's going to need a pretty impressive series of draws, I would anticipate, to pull this one back. Even ignoring Sam's hand, which has Spike Ridge Steed, a soon-to-be very cheap Shavala, and the all-important Uther of the Ebon Blade as well.
Sam choosing to deal with the Sorcerer's Apprentice there rather than the Spell Zerka. And, yep, I guess it didn't really matter either way. The Apprentice isn't doing all that much. Shah can now go Cosmic Anomaly, ping the Spell Zerka, Frostbolt. Ugh, it's not good.
Yeah, I like the clearing off of the Sorcerer's Apprentice there, because maybe Yashar has the God Draw and goes Luna and then just plays 50 spells or something. It's obviously incredibly unlikely.
Yep.
But just close off that out. At the worst, this Spell Zerka does +2 spell damage, which is not that bad.
Especially as Sam has so much healing available to him over the next couple turns with Uther, with Shavala. There's no way Shah's dealing with his whole board this turn. It's just not possible, thanks to the Spike Ridge Steed. So the second Spike Ridge Steed can come down, cheapening that Shavala even more.
So I guess Luxam really just has to play around Glyph into Polymorph now and not go for double Spike Ridge Steed. Like, if that was his only play, I think he'd still go for it, but he's just got plenty of other options. Even just Hero Power Spike Ridge Steed is perfectly fine here to get more of a wall in play, and yeah, that's what we're missing.
Well, we did point out that there were a few potential counters from Sam for this mage deck, but the Hakar Paladin seems to have done a pretty nice job. It's not really fair to call it Hakar Paladin. It's like, that's not the win condition, the only
Definitely fair to call it Hakar Paladin. It's a Paladin with Hakar in it.
That's a good counterpoint, yeah.
Any deck with Hakar becomes Hakar blank.
That's fair, yeah.
As Yashar plays Avenging Missiles, hoping to get something rolling. But we can clearly see the counterplay is very much in full force for Luxam. I mean, pick your poison, right? We could see Uther here, which would obviously unfreeze the hero. I think it's arguably even the best play just because it does unfreeze.
Yeah, I like Uther here a lot.
Yeah, I guess Shavala develops more of a board right now, which is kind of a concern. But it doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah, Sam is not dying in the next couple of turns. There's one card in Shah's hand. It just won't be enough. Shivala putting Luxam back up to 16 health.
And the fireball has to go into Shivala. And yeah, I think Yashar is going to realize pretty quickly this ain't looking all too good, and figure out with her teammates what deck are they going to counter this Hakkar Paladin with.
That's got to be a hard conversation to have. And I believe the teams are only allowed 2 minutes maximum to make these decisions.
Right, okay. Hey, there we go. I'd be very interested to hear from Cloud9 why they decided to go for Hakkar Paladin now. Like, what is it about the recent nerfs that inspired them to bring this deck? As we see Hakkar's #1 fan out in the audience cheering on the inevitable victory of the God of Death.
I wonder if that person's card back hasn't been infected yet.
Or what? They're the one person in the world who hasn't been infected by Hakkar.
Yeah.
It was quite an interesting social experiment, that card back. I didn't think I would get it quite so fast as I did.
Oh yeah, for me it was the first game I played.
Yeah. It's very scary for... I mean, it just makes me think that the world is one step away from a zombie epidemic that would just spread across everyone in 3 seconds.
I mean, the first thing I did was then change my card back because I didn't want to have the same card back as everyone else. It's a nice card back. I just didn't want to be the same as everyone else. Still rocking the HGG cheer card back.
Oh, of course. I don't think I've changed it from the Dalaran Flame because I'm that guy. I'm basic. As now for Lucky Future, they need to find that counter, and a lot of the what I would anticipate the good decks are in this matchup are gone. The Priest for its OTK potential, I believe, has been banned away. Do you think they're going to be going for the Druid? Maybe the King Togwaggle Druid? That would get very confusing.
Hakkar versus Hakkar. Well, no, it's not Hakkar versus Hakkar. Tog versus Hakkar. Togwaggle Druid, funnily enough, although I thought this would be a less common Druid this week, I've seen a lot more... Actually, I've not seen any Hakkar Druid played yet, but I've seen 7 or 8 Togwaggle games.
Interesting. I mean, I think it's not any one specific epiphany that the community has had. It's more just slowly realizing that classic Druid that doesn't run Auctioneer has the Nourishes and Greedy Sprites in there. It's just fine. Like, it's really not that bad at all. Playing the King Togwaggle variant as opposed to the Malagos variant is obviously another discussion to be had. You don't have to play Floop, so you can then play the Oaken Summons package with Greedy Sprite and Ironwood Golem, which is very useful indeed. It's a lot better against Odd Warrior. It's an interesting deck, and I'd be interested to see how it plays out if it's chosen.
Yeah, there's no need to overthink the whole Togwaggle Hakkar interactions too much. It shouldn't ever matter. Unless Hakkar is played very early, I guess, somehow from the Paladin. Because then if Lucky Future's goal is to empty their own deck, they can't do that.
I couldn't agree more, person in the audience.
You read Korean now?
Oh yeah. I decided that learning is a great career choice.
You can go and be a Korean Hearthstone commentator.
Yeah, well, I'll figure out how to be an English Hearthstone commentator first, and maybe branch into other languages. As it is the Hunter, this is fairly expected, I suppose. The Death Rattle Hunter, I believe, from Lucky Future. Classically, just a very strong anti-control deck, especially a deck like the OTK or the Hakkar Paladin, which doesn't have too much silence. So it's really going to be struggling against the Death Rattles in the deck. It doesn't have Psychic Scream either, or any way of dealing with those. So once one of those cubes sticks, you can pretty much just solo the entire game.
And obviously, Lucky Future are now hoping that they can win 2 games in a row with this Hunter. Because this is it. This is their final deck. When they lose with this, they have lost the series.
Exactly.
Is he just is he taking a nap? Oh no. Okay. All right. So...
the old Derek special. But once again, whoever loses this series will not be out of the tournament. This is double elimination, this bracket. And whoever loses this series will go on to play the loser between Dark Horse and Titanar Gaming. And whoever wins will play the winner of those two.
Yeah. The losers match will take place tomorrow. The winners match will take place today. As we jump into game number 3. Game number 4 even. It's 2-1. How many games have there been today? Yes, 4.
Somewhat interesting keep on the Rexar there. I suppose that indicates Saimiao's thought on how slow this Paladin deck is. Because I would say keeping Rexar against the Shavala Holy Wrath OTK version was definitely something I would still consider. But a lot of the time you had to get off to a more explosive start if you wanted to win that matchup. Value was not winning you that game. Whereas up against this one, even if they do get to the ultimate win condition, I suppose you could call it, of drawing their whole deck, playing Hakar, playing Prince Leon, that's still very slow. You've got a lot of time to build a lot of Zombeasts before that.
Yeah, it's the type of deck, or the type of matchup where as the hunter you can attack on all fronts, right? The early death rattle spam, and then yeah, there is time for that late game stuff. And actually Tar Creeper does an okay job here of just getting in that Pyromancer's way.
Yep, just making sure that board control isn't lost early on. That would be the real nightmare scenario for Saimiao.
So something that we didn't really see come into effect last turn was all of the buff synergy that's available in Luxam's deck. There's the Immortal Prelate, obviously. There's Lanessa. There's 2 copies of Spike-Ridge Steed. And that means overall, Luxam is capable of coming up with some pretty powerful stuff. But it takes time.
I agree completely. I think that's probably the biggest benefit of playing this version over the Shavala version, is you can build big boards. It's obviously different to the Egg Paladin version, because if you run out of value, you have the combo at the end with Hakar and Liam to try and win the unwinnable control matchups.
Yep.
But you still have that mid-game power swing of Spike-Ridge Steed and Lanessa, which I think is a good way to go. Like, pretty much any deck that has double Spike-Ridge Steed, Lanessa becomes the most powerful card in that deck.
Yep, it can be frustrating that the cards do have to be drawn in a certain order in order to really do their thing. Obviously, if one of the Spike-Ridge Steeds or both are pretty low in the deck, then you are stuck with a 7-mana 1/1 Lanessa for the majority of the game.
And here we see a very spicy 1-2 punch coming in here from Saimiao. This is not a play that you would make against the majority of decks in Hearthstone at the moment, I would say, of the just naked cube here thrown down onto the Howlmaster Shore. But like I said, there's no silence, there's no real way to transform this cube. That is going to be very annoying for Luxam indeed.
Tarim deals with the cube itself, but 2 Houndmaster Shores. That's going to cause Sam a bit of a headache.
Yeah, Luxam clearly really scared that there's going to be some kind of a death rattle activator there, which is why he felt the need to pop the cube right now. Clearly we can see that really wasn't necessary, and just give Saimiao an even easier way to get that rush rolling. But hey, I mean, the play worked out.
Oh well, there you go. there is the Death Rattle activator. It's sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't for Sam there. The punish would have been severe, so I do like the killing the cube.
Kind of a weird play on this turn, though, in terms of actually filling out the mana, because I would say at the moment, hero power is not high on your priority at all for Saimiao to press that. So does he just go for the highest mana play of Rexar on this turn? Like I was going to say, you don't get any rush value out of it, but why not? It still does the damage, helps the trades a little bit, and it's just an a nice way to get the board rolling.
Yeah, when an opportunity this, I guess, convenient does present itself, you just go for it. But then he's thinking, does he trade away the Tarim? The problem is if he does that, then Luxam will have a pretty straightforward way of dealing with both Handmaster Shores. Oh wow, Blessing of Kings. Another buff for Lanessa later on as well.
Yeah, I like this for Luxam. In his turn, like, you could look at some kind of Pyromancer nonsense, but I think like this, using the Holy Light, the Flash of Light on the Tarim on a minion, so that it gets the recasting of it from Lanessa to draw another card. Yep. Luxam's draw engine here is looking very powerful indeed, which is pretty important.
We may even see Lanessa next turn. It'd only be a 7-mana 5/5, but it's drawing cards, I guess.
I wonder if we'll how reluctant Luxam will be to play that Prince Liam. Like, how much does he anticipate he will need the ultimate combo later on?
It's a very good question. Hakar is a very understated minion. So it's going to be difficult for Luxam to just go ahead and play it at some point this game.
Yeah. Luxam now really starting to stress out about all his options. I mean, that looks pretty good to me, as opposed to the Lanessa, the call to arms just to thin the deck out a little bit more. He obviously doesn't want to play Lanessa until it's getting that little bit more value.
Three Death Rattle activators back to back there for something.
Yeah, that's really not what he's looking for. I mean, even in terms of Death Rattle zombies, there's really not anything all that strong. You can get Arthas, you can get Bloatbat, I suppose, but they're not game-changing strong like a Cube Death Rattle would be.
Sam really needs a board clear.
He does indeed, and Samia is making that a little bit more difficult for him. I liked his trading there to play around Consecration by having 2 3-health minions rather than dealing more damage. Oh no, sorry, that minion had Rush. Okay, yeah. Ignore what I'm saying. But anyway, he's by not trading with the Houndmaster Shore, he's made it a little bit more difficult for Luxam to deal with. However, Pyromancer Equality will do that.
What, Pyromancer Consecration?
Consecration, sorry, yeah.
Doing it this turn. And then at some point in the future, Sam can go Shrink Ray Consecration as a second board clear, so he's okay for the time being.
I really need to shift my mindset. Like, Pyromancer Equality is just in my mind. It's just 2 words that go together.
They still do, but it costs 6 now.
But they suck. All pretty good options there, actually, off of the first Zombeast. I guess you probably go for the Bear Shark, yeah. I mean, I was going to say Razormaw is pretty nice, but I guess that's more in the mid-range versions of Hunter that Razormaw gets a little bit more useful off the Zombeast.
Wow, another board clear potential. Sort of. Like, look, Sam only has 1 Consecration left. I guess he could just drop the Equality now and play Prince Liam if he wanted to make the biggest tempo play. But I think at this stage he probably is thinking about the Hakar combo a little bit.
I mean, I think at the moment it's still there's still branching paths as to how we can approach this. Like with Lanessa still in hand, we could very much just see Lanessa as his win condition. With no silence and Death Rattle Hunter, if he can get a couple of Spike Ridge Steeds on the board, playing Lanessa and shuffling Immortal Prelate over and over could just win him the game. Or even for that matter, Immortal Prelate could be his win condition. If he sticks double Spike Ridge Steed on the Prelate, that is just shuffling a, what would that be, like a crazy high attack minion, like a 5/14 every turn.
That said, Sammy does have ways to generate minions with silence.
Yes,
Ironbeak Owls. So the Prelate isn't a definitive win condition. Nor is Hakar for that matter.
Oof. And there is that silence, very importantly, for Saimiao to be able to deal with, like we were saying, basically anything with Spike Ridge Steed, be it Lanessa, be it Immortal Prelate, doesn't matter all too much, just got to get that silence rolling. That is a huge Zombeast.
And also very tiny.
It is also a tiny Zombeast.
Wow, okay. Well, that's just going to get silenced, isn't it?
I wonder.
Feels kind of bad.
Like, this is just such a weird spot to be in, because obviously Luxam has drawn more cards, so Hakar is more of a threat to him than it is to Saimiao. And Saimiao, like we said, this owl was made to deal with Spike Ridge Steed. I'm pretty sure that's why he will have chosen this above some other pretty good options. So does he think it's even worth dealing with Hakar?
He could start by building a second beast to see if he gets a second owl, and if he does, then he can silence the Hakar.
Good point.
Something else I'm wondering about this deck now. With the Prince Liam synergy, is the plan to play Prince Liam straight away? Or would Sam actually want to draw some of the Corrupted Bloods to generate more legendary minions?
I was thinking about that as well. It does start to get pretty confusing, I get your point.
Looks like he's just gonna let the Death Rattle go off. Ooh, Shivala the Tiger.
Yeah. Okay, I really like this play from Saimiao. Like, the more I think about it, this is not a situation I've ever seen before, but I would anticipate he's making the correct decision of just going aggro. So what if my opponent shuffles a bunch of Corrupted Bloods? I'm still at 27. He'd have to draw so many of those Corrupted Bloods for it to kill him at this point. So let's save this for a Spike Ridge Steed and just kill my opponent right now.
So now Luxam does have an answer for most of this board. He can kill everything except the 5/5 that would come from this Devilsaur Egg if he goes Shrink Ray, Consecration right now. He could also trade in the Hakar into the Ziliax, which would allow that Death Rattle to go. I'm struggling to see much that's any better, especially as he can then play Shivala to deal with the 5/5 Devilsaur after clearing the rest of the board. That seems good to me.
Yeah, I think Luxam is struggling to find any other reason to not go for it as well. When is he ever going to face a board scarier than this one anytime soon?
So knowing there's a silence in Saimiao's hand, I was thinking Shrink Ray first. Obviously, Sam doesn't know that. So he does the smart thing and keeps himself the minion on the board. But then Saimiao's not going to want to silence the Hakar anyway, because it would go back to being a 9/6.
That's a good point. Yeah, he seems to be pretty reluctant in any capacity to silence this Hakar, whether it gives his opponent +7, +5 or not.
Little Ant Hakar gets destroyed there.
And here we go. The big minions start rolling in. Luxam clearly going to be thinking, I really want this Immortal Prelate to get me to the win, but my opponent has a Zombeast that they have been keeping suspiciously quiet about for the last few turns.
Saimiao's plan comes together very nicely.
And somehow this King Crush is going to be connecting phase twice. That has to be the first King Crush in history, I think, to ever connect phase 2 turns. Yeah, I imagine the Rhino will have been picked there, so I guess Grizzly is the best one to go for, just because it gives you an 8 mana play, so you can press the hero power again on the same turn you play it. Yeah, okay, I like this decision. Man, this is taking me back, the test of figuring out zombies in Chinese. I am not all too good at... Oh, no, sorry, I guess it's Korean, but any foreign language that I do not speak, which is all of them.
And there's the second Spike Ridge Steed. Okay, so on the plus side for Sam, he can play this, and then he will get the huge Lanessa, thanks to the Blessing of Kings and the double Spike Ridge Steed buff. He'll also be drawing a card when he plays Lanessa. Given that he only has 4 cards left in his deck, that's not necessarily a good thing.
So as Sign Me Out transitions from professional Hearthstone player to professional Owl Factory, it's pretty much going to be all in on that if he wants to be winning this game.
Nope, Owl's here.
Actually, I guess having said that, he's still got a very threatening board developing, and that Rhino.
Yep.
That just means anything he can generate will smack directly into that Lanessa.
If Sam can't deal with that Tundra Rhino now, then that Bittertide Hydra is going to be a nice little 5-mana 9/9 with charge.
But what other choice does he have? And here come the Corrupted Bloods. Sam drawing a couple of them, I guess, isn't that bad because it gives him more legendary minions to shuffle in. But he is going to be taking a fair bit of damage in the meanwhile.
So there's 3 in the deck now? Yeah, I think all 3 cards in the deck are Corrupted Bloods.
Oh, wow, okay.
And he can't do anything about that until next turn.
So he is taking a fair bit of damage here.
He'll be taking 9 damage on his next draw plus the fatigue.
And
but then he'll have 6 Corrupted Bloods in the deck after that for Prince Liam to convert into random legendaries.
Yeah, I guess. And the fatigue is important point with Immortal Prelate having been silenced. I guess the upside is just it's very unlikely that any damage connects to face from minions on this turn with that huge Lancer, in addition obviously to the Righteous Protector. But if Sign Me Out can get that Owl... Ooh!
Well...
Sorry, I'm probably a bit ahead of you on the feed.
Only ever so slightly, but looks like that's that.
The absolute madman. I mean, that is so important. This goes from a 9/17 Divine Shield taunt that summons two 6s with Taunt upon Death Rattle to a 1/1. This Owl is the absolute biggest MVP I've ever seen.
Well, this is just over now because Sam has to play Prince Liam this turn, or he just dies to Corrupted Bloods next turn.
Yup.
I guess he can go Prince Liam, Call to Arms, and see if any cheap legendaries pop out and save him.
We're gonna get triple of Millhouse Mana Storm.
Getting some issues with my feed now, unfortunately.
I am as well,
Okay.
unfortunately. At least we got to see the exciting moment where the Owl comes in. I'm pretty sure that everything after this, like you said, is just clean up for Sign Me Out. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, I'm going to refresh. Actually, no, I'm not.
Okay, Bloods. Bloods. Bloods.
So far this game, Luxar played, what even is card stats? A 10 mana 8/6 that just dealt like 15 damage to him. This is the worst Hakar I've ever seen. As he does go for it, and it gets... Oh my god. The final salt in the wound.
Okay.
Right, as we will re-sync our feeds after that pretty hilarious end.
All right, portrait exploding now. Logo's on screen. I think you probably just need to pause for like 2 seconds or something.
Yeah, I'm caught up, I think, now. Pretty funny end to the game, though, there, as we do go to 2 games apiece in this last hero standing best of 5, which means Cloud9 have to find a counter for that Death Rattle Hunter, which might be fairly difficult to do to find a hard counter. This is a deck that doesn't have many truly miserable matchups, I would say. It can always get the perfect outcome in the early game with Keleseth, Egg, Death Rattle activators, and all that nonsense to beat pretty much any deck.
And his options are very weird. He has the, again, they have the Dead Man's Hand Warrior.
Yep.
They have the Hakar Druid.
Okay.
And which was the 4th deck? I'm drawing a blank. The 3rd deck, I mean.
Did they have the Shaman left? Oh no, that was banned away, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah. Oh, Quest Mage.
Quest Mage.
It's Quest Mage, or the Warrior, or the Druid. I mean, I can't help but think Hakar Druid might end up being the best one.
Yeah, I mean, it really starts to struggle against cubes, though. Like, that is, I find, one of the big weaknesses of card decks is as soon as a cube is played, some amount of stats is sticking on the board for the rest of the game, be it the cube or whatever is inside the cube. Things become very messy indeed. Whereas I wonder, maybe the Quest Mage, with its freeze effect, can just stall out the game until it goes for the OTK.
How many freeze effects does it have? Double Frost Nova, double Blizzards, yeah.
Double Tome of Intellect as well. I honestly had literally no idea what that card was.
Is Tome of Intellect the new classic mage card?
Yes, it's the card they added in for noobs. I'm sorry if you love Tome of Intellect, but this is a noob card being played in Quest Mage. I mean, if you do love Tome of Intellect, put down your white bread with unsalted butter, because you are an incredibly boring person who likes boring things.
Hey, random spells are fun. At least Cloud9 thinks so.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know why I'm being so mean to all of a sudden. I apologise. It's too early.
But yeah, I mean, I think we can pretty much guarantee it won't be the Warrior that's picked. For certain.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Death Rattle Hunter. I mean, the slower Hunter decks historically are very, very good against slow Warrior decks.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess then it really is just what does he think could get to the combo quicker? Because obviously both Druid and the Mage will be struggling quite significantly to actually remove the Hunter's minions. That's not their game plan in that matchup, though. It's just to stall. Can they turbo through to their win condition quickly enough to the point where the OTK gets there before they're beat down by giant minions? It's going to be difficult to do. That's what they're going to have to try, I think.
And again, I find it very unlikely that the Hakar... Oh, sorry, hang on. No, we're not playing Hakar versus Hakar here. For a second, I thought the Hakar Paladin was still in play. Never mind. Because, like, the thing I was thinking about before was that if the Hakar's played early in a Hakar Paladin against a Togwaggle deck,
yeah,
then surely the Togwaggle deck can't empty their own deck anymore because they'll be drawing Corrupted Bloods? Very weird. Either way,
yeah, it's weird.
It's going to be Quest Mage.
It is indeed. I'm excited to see this deck roll because I haven't seen Quest Mage, I think, since the Global Games Finals.
And that was very different to this deck as well. I believe that deck ran a Luneth.
Yeah, that was a super weird Quest Mage. Was it China that brought it, actually, and went on to win? Yeah. Really weird stuff. This one seems to be a little bit more quote-unquote standard. It's obviously got the OTK of double Sorcerer's Apprentice, double Molten Reflection, and Archmage Antonidas after you have completed Open the Waygate for that extra turn. The way to get there, though, is a little bit more difficult now that Ice Block is obviously rotated out. So it is just going to be hyper drawing, trying to stall as long as possible, and playing those bananas from Banana Buffoon to complete the quest.
So what sort of start do we think Lucky Future's looking for here? I guess, I mean, I'd say probably the most aggressive, egg-based, QB, play-deady start they can possibly find.
I would agree. I think if I was making this mulligan, I would toss Spider Bomb and probably Rexar as well, actually. Again, this is purely based on a hypothesis of what this matchup is going to be, because this is not a deck that I've faced on ladder in months. But I think just anything that puts stats on the board is really what you're looking for, especially when you throw in Death Rattle, because it really messes with Doomsayer as well. Not fancying the cube there, though. I can understand where he's coming from, but still just, man, 3 coin cube with the egg coin cube is a really powerful couple of turns.
Yep. That said, Kaliseth into egg, into, what, play dead coin flanking strike?
I mean,
Also
yeah, this is pretty good too. Especially when Diony's hand is looking a little bit dry at the moment. That could obviously be remedied by Luna, but I would guess that Luna is a card that wants to be saved for until the later stages of the game, where it's all possible to get the draw rolling. Clearly, I'm incredibly incorrect, though. Whew. Okay, this draw for Diony is going to start getting pretty scary with his very, very low curving deck. Sadly gets it in just the wrong, but still, this is much more of what he's looking to try and hit.
You can definitely see how it comes together quite scarily fast, actually.
Yeah, big time.
It's nice that we found a deck where a research project can find a home as well.
I agree. It's a cool card. I don't think enough of the projects see play.
So Doomsayer is more or less unplayable in this matchup, so going with the Tome now.
Yeah, it's really just trying to be used
Ooh,
preemptively, I guess, to try and stop your opponent from playing a minion, but even then, it's unlikely to work out well.
It was nice that the Tome there got Breath of Cindergrosa, just to draw Diony another card. The quicker he gets through his deck, the quicker he wins the game.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all he's trying to do, is just turbo draw through his deck, whilst he stalls a little bit as well, as it's obviously a really unfortunate 50-50 there for him to lose, and thus Luna dies. If that hadn't fallen down, he could have, I mean, with the perfect series of draws, that could have just been lights out.
Okay, with one egg gone, the board frozen, Doomsayer actually finds a very nice time to do its thing.
Death rattles that can be thrown in include Spider Bomb, which does absolutely nothing. So like you said, this is really the perfectly timed Spider Bomb, perfectly timed Doomsayer, sorry. In this particular instance, obviously a cube would have something else to say about that, so it's a little bit unfortunate for Samiao that he doesn't have that. But he did opt to throw away the cube. He could have had that in his starting hand, had he so chosen. And all of a sudden for Diony, this is looking so much better. Getting a clear board on turn 6, I really did not envisage that this would happen.
You'd definitely expect the Death Rattle Hunter deck to have a very firm grasp on the board by now. And hey, maybe with that Katharina draw, come turn 8, Samiao can make a big push back. But that might be too late at this rate.
Diony, though, he's still not in that bad of a spot. He's got the draw.
This hand's coming together.
Yeah, really starting to be pieced together.
Ooh. Honestly,
Wow.
it's not going to take much longer for Diony to just win this game.
It's really not. But it's not going to take much longer for Simiao to put on a huge amount of pressure. Just this Ziliax alone. Katharina next turn if it gets out King Crush. This is getting very scary for Dione. This is so razor thin.
So I guess Dione, he can meteor away this board, freeze the board that appears next turn, though he's not got any mana to do anything else if he meteors away this board with the ping. Second Blizzard picked up though. Now he may consider just going Research Project Blizzard or Glyph
Yeah, that's
Blizzard.
what I was looking at as well. And you can go Research Project Blizzard. Next turn, he's anticipating Katharina probably.
Yeah.
Which means Meteor can kill off whatever minion is summoned by Katharina. Or he could just freeze again.
Yeah. Freezing again is riskier because of play deads, but I don't think Meteor will do enough next turn.
Yeah, I think I like this. I think he's just got to spend his mana on stuff rather than removal. He has to get that quest completed.
Yeah.
Oof, there it is. Exactly what Simiao was looking for. It is lethal. Very, very easy against Dione on the following turn.
Okay, Spellbender's really clutch here, because if Samiao had Cube play dead or play dead on the Katharina, this would just stop the play dead from happening.
No more beasts, I believe, left in the deck at all, though, for Simiao. However, like you said, Cube is really what he's looking for right now.
That's
Oh,
a very unfortunate track.
that's very sad indeed.
In a slightly different situation where one of those terror skills was in the hand, this would just be lethal.
Yeah, this would just be game. Dione clearly feeling the pressure. 11 cards left in deck. But with the quest 1 card away from being completed, he can pretty much do it next turn. He just needs to hope he gets the second Frost Nova, I think.
I wonder if Samiao might just go for the cube on the King Crush here and hope that it's Explosive Rune. I don't think Dione would ever
Oh, that's a good point.
play that secret now, because
Yeah.
that would be too risky. But if it's the only way Samiao gets through, I don't see why not go for that this turn.
I think he's afraid about polymorph being generated. Like, there's a lot of ways of generating random spells in this deck.
Right.
And that would be so bad if that did happen. But I guess in terms of developing your actual minions, it doesn't really matter because you're threatening lethal no matter what.
Can Dione win this turn? Because he has to, doesn't he?
So does he start with the Sorcerer's Apprentice and just hope to pop off right now?
Apprentice, Molten Reflection, Research Project.
I think he has to wait a turn, right? Like, he can't draw enough pieces right now to get there. He has to go for Research Project and hope to hit the Frost Nova. Clearly, though, he disagrees. He thinks he's more likely to win it right now with the mana reduction.
He does get a second turn as well.
He has to use that to win, though.
But he gets the extra draw from the second turn. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
just
good
one more chance to get the Antonidas. Loot Hoarder. He can ping the Loot Hoarder. That Simulacrum doesn't do anything now.
Yep.
Oh,
Time
boy.
out on the edge of his seat. Ooh.
So he doesn't have the mana to play Sorcerer's Apprentice and ping the Loot Hoarder. But the Loot Hoarder can just trade in, so he gets one more draw.
Yep, one more draw. That that has the Death Rattle of Spider Bomb in it, so it will destroy a random minion.
Well, that's unfortunate.
So he has to play... He has to play the Artificer for the hope that it destroys one of these minions. Oh, but he can also go for the 50-50 on Simulacrum. He just doesn't have enough mana now, though, right?
Yeah. Well, he now has
Can't play
exactly the mana.
Antonidas. He has to hit the 1 in 5. Nah.
Oh, he's 1 mana short. If he could just go Antonidas multi-reflection.
This is so close.
And unfortunately for Dione, as close as that was, Rexxar is going to end any hopes that Dione has of winning this game. Wow.
That was a really nice series of plays there, though, by Dione. I don't know. I'm not even convinced that was necessarily the best way to go about it. Maybe he should have just waited another turn and hoped to draw the Frost Nova off the top. But he saw that he was in a dire situation. He took an extreme risk, and it very nearly worked out for him.
The play that doesn't work, but it just doesn't matter. Oh, man. A valiant effort, indeed.
Yeah. Dione knows that's the one thing he didn't want to see above all else. Because even if one of the apprentices had died, he might have still had enough mana for lethal next turn just through fireballs through to face. But it is going to be a miracle here to save Dione. I don't think there's anything he's got left.
No, there's just no win condition. There's no way of dealing 28 damage.
It would have to be Glyph into Scroll of Wonders and then 3 Fireballs to face.
I don't even
or
want to
3 Pyroblasts to face. The classic out for any kind of mage with spell generation. But yeah, this is looking pretty much over. And I really liked what we saw there from Dione. They're a very, very flashy play indeed. But unfortunately not able to get him quite there, which means it looks like Cloud9 are going to be dropping down to the lower bracket to face off against Dark Horse or Titanar Gaming.
Alright, but Lucky Future, again, China winning their first series of the day. China are now 3-0 against Korea in this tournament.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I suppose we're counting it as being over before it necessarily is, but you can kind of see why. Maybe if Antonidas can stick, that's the miracle they need.
Antonidas and the 1 banana.
Nah, that's not going to do it though. King Crushes inside, close this one's out. I like a lot of what I saw there from Saimiao as well. Dione had the flashier play. Saimiao, I think, was just playing some decent Hearthstone throughout.